I'm very pleased to announce that reports of the demise of Stanton Evans were premature. He's actually with us today, and I'm very happy about that. Stan is described in his biography as a journalist. That, of course, is an understatement, shall we say. He has deep and powerful roots in American conservatism, going back to being assistant editor to the Freeman, his work at Human Events, and being associate editor at National Review for 13 years. He was the first chairman of the American Conservative Union. In 1977, he had founded the National Journalism Center. He is an important figure in conservatism, and in that time he's also written 8 books. His most recent, I would like to mention, Stalin's Secret Agents, The Subversion of Roosevelt's Government. I'm pleased to introduce him, Stanton Evans.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank all of you. It's an honor to be on this great panel with people I've admired for years and to be with you. I'm not going to go back to the ultimate first principles, but I'm going to talk about some political first principles that I think are important in the present day. And the first thing to confront, and Ken referred to this in his very eloquent remarks, is what we're up against right now. And I don't know about you, but I get most of my news from the Jimmy Kimmel show. And, a week ago tonight, Jimmy Kimmel, are we all aware of Jimmy Kimmel, more or less? And are we aware of the sequester? Does everybody know about the sequester? You know, the 1% cut that will shut down civilization. Anyway, Jimmy Kimmel sent an inquiring reporter into the streets of New York to interview typical voters on those streets about the sequester. And I'm guessing from the way the interviews went that most of these voters were Obama voters. And the initial question was this to these citizens of New York: do you agree with President Obama's decision to pardon the sequester and send it to Portugal? The consensus seemed to be that this was a good decision. The first respondent said that she did agree with that was a good decision because Portugal has a constitutional right to that protection. I guess that's in the Portuguese constitution. I don't know how that affects us, but that's what she said. There was one respondent who was a little shaky. He kind of supported the decision to pardon the sequester and send it to Portugal, but he said, I think we should have those jobs over here. The final question, the modulation of this was a slight change in the question, which was, what do you think of the fact that North Korea is developing its own sequester? So it wasn't an Obama question, it was just a general information question. And the answer to that was very scary. It was scary. So these, I would remind you, are voters. Any three of you, your votes are canceled by these 3 people that are obviously a part of the Obama base. There is a 3-legged stool. There are these people who Rush Limbaugh calls low information voters. I think that's, putting it mildly up. And then, so that's the first leg of the stool. The second leg of the stool is illegal aliens. The third is dead people. We had a problem in Virginia where the governor, our Governor McDonald, and our Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli and others tried to eliminate dead people from the rolls, about 10,000 of them from the voter rolls in Virginia. But this was obviously an effort at voter suppression. So I don't think that happened. Anyway, this is the coalition over which Barack Obama presides. It's what we're facing. what he is and what he is doing in his administration, I spent a lot of time in the last several years researching aspects of hard left, revolutionary, ruthless tactics. That's what we've got. That is what's going on here. This is by the numbers, recapitulation of every left-wing revolution that ever happened. It has nothing to do with policy. It has nothing to do with principle. It has everything to do with power. That's all it is about, and it is effective if it is not adequately opposed. You cannot deal with a revolutionary left cadre by compromise, trying to conciliate, be reasonable, reach out, and so forth. That's not going to work. The only thing you can do with people like that is to defeat them. And to defeat them, you have to fight them. Unfortunately, looking at the great panorama of our politics today, I see lots of evidence that we're not fighting them, at least not effectively. The Republican Party seems to be totally defensive, hesitant, apologetic, back on its heels, not knowing what to do. And even some of our conservative commentariats that I see on television seem to have bought into this stuff about, well, Obama won the election, and so I guess we got to let him do whatever he's going to do. And I was talking to Edwin Meese about this about a month ago. We were at a conference together, and I said, Ed, do you remember after Ronald Reagan won 49 states in 1984, right? And I read about that, and I said, do you remember Tip O'Neill, who was then the Speaker of the House, the Democrats, saying, Reagan won the election. We just got to be more like Reagan. I don't remember that. And maybe I missed it, but no, that's not the way the Democrats played. They savaged Bob Bork. They savaged Ollie North. They went after Reagan himself. They went after Edwin Meese. They did the whole schmear. They didn't roll over because Reagan won 49 states. They could have cared less. Their job was to try to bring them down, and they couldn't do it, but they tried. There was some discussion of the social issues here in the last panel, which I heard the end of. A very good panel. Social issues to some members of our party, the Republican Party, I think means blackballing somebody from a country club. That is their idea of a social issue. To those of us who are a little bit more blue collar, it means fighting for our traditional values, faith, and practices from our Judeo-Christian heritage. That's what it means to me anyway. I've often thought that looking at the scene today, that the Republican Party in Congress in particular should be staunchly pro-life because it is so often in the fetal position. You are not going to win any battles by lying down on the floor, sucking your thumb and saying, we lost, we lost, we lost. That ain't going to get it done. More than that, putting this in some historical framework, if we had had that kind of leadership, and we had people trying to tell us similar things back in the day, back in the 60s, when some of us got started in this stuff, there would have never been a conservative movement. If that's the kind of leadership we had from the commentary and the politicians that did. We would have never had a Ronald Reagan presidency. We never had. Everything that is being said today was said back in the 60s about conservatives and about Ronald Reagan. That he couldn't win, that he was a loser, he was just a lightweight dunce, and that was said by people within the Republican Party. The same kind of people today who are attacking the Tea Party. Exactly the same kind of people. They're called rhinos now. We call them liberal Republicans, same thing. However, we did not accept, some of us at least, that rhetoric then, and don't accept it now, I don't think. I mentioned yesterday, and I had to repeat this, some people heard my remarks yesterday, but most of you weren't there, so I'll repeat this. When we lost the election in 1964, I said, well, you were out there, we were Goldwater people back then, and we were crushed flat. We were wiped out in that election. We didn't start whining and say, oh, well, no, but the liberal media were telling us, that's it, it's anti-conservative, forget it, it's over, never gonna happen, forget it. And I said to the young people I talked to yesterday that it was very bad, very dismal times for us because we had no grief counselors. That's hard for some young people to relate to. We did not. We didn't have grief counselors. And I mentioned two other examples of that era. When you watch TV, and some of you heard this, we had no remotes. Or, if there were people who had remotes, they were very rich people. My family did not have remotes. If you wanted to change the TV channel, you had to get up out of your chair and walk over and turn it manually. I'm serious, you have to do this. Another example I cited often, the malls were not covered. If you went from the Gap to the Radio Shack, you were outdoors, man. It could be raining. We didn't know any different. That's the way we were raised. No, we were tough people. And we came out of that election fighting harder. We didn't give up. And out of that election came a person named Ronald Reagan, who gave a speech, the so-called Time for Choosing speech, and we all remember some of us with that, our demographic. And I remember sitting with my wife in our living room in Indianapolis, where I then was, and watching that speech and saying, that's the guy who's running for president right there. And a lot of other people thought the same thing. 2 years later, I ran for governor, and so I went. Edwin Meese knows that much better than I do. I won't hold forth on that any further because he is the world's expert on it. We are in a much stronger position today in terms of our positions of strength than we were then. We had no positions of strength at all. In 1965, we have today. You would never know it, but we have a majority of Republicans in the House of Representatives. Hello? It's why there's a Speaker Boehner. I don't know, you make that connection there. That we have more Republicans than there are Democrats. That's just for some of the commentary I have to reflect on. We have 30 governors, 30 Republican governors. Most of them very staunch conservatives. That, by my old math, is 60% of all the governors in the United States. There are 24 states which have one-party governments. Their governor and both houses of the legislature in they have the same party. 24 are Republican, 12 are Democratic. And one could go on. So there is a lot there to build on if we will build on it and use it. And just say, oh, we lost, we're losers. If you say that, you are a loser, but we should not be saying. Something else, I was interested in the demographic data of the preceding panel, because it ties in a little bit about fertility rates. How many of you were here for that discussion? And there was some question about the declining population birth rates in the United States. However, there is a differential within those data. The differential is between those who are of religious faith and practicing and those who are not. Those who are of religious faith and practicing have higher fertility rates. It is the unchurched, it is the irreligious, it is the purely secular who have lower fertility rates. I project those trends into the future, and to put it in very blunt fashion, the liberals are aborting themselves out of existence. That's what's going on. So, breed, baby, breed. And there's some other demographics. I'm almost done that. I'm getting restless here. Within the voting public as a whole, we hear a lot about the Hispanic vote, Hispanic vote, Hispanic vote. Fine, reach out to the Hispanic vote. Bring in the Hispanic vote. Get all the Hispanic votes you can. The Hispanic vote is 10% of the voting population. 10. The evangelical vote, any guesses? 26%. The same people who told us we've reached out to the Hispanic voters saying, kick these evangelicals in the teeth. Forget these social issues. Just get them out of here. We don't want those. They're so embarrassing. I go to the country club, people sneer at me for pro-life. These data taken together, there are many more, I'll stop here, are projection into the future, spell the inevitable defeat of liberalism. Just keep building on that base, and they're going to lose, we're going to win. There's more to say, but I will wrap up with this. Our Republican leadership needs to take the offense. And I conclude with a little anecdote about a family, modern family, a man and wife, and two sets of children, older teenage children and younger siblings who have 5, 6 years old. And as often happens in families like that, the younger children started imitating and picking up the language of the older children trying to be cool. They got into some fairly, off-color language of doing this. So one day the father, the liberated household, comes down to prepare the breakfast for the children. He turns to the teenagers, he turns to the little boy, says, "What would you like for breakfast?" The little boy says, "What the hell? I might as well have some cornflakes." The father is shocked. He reaches out and smacks the kid in the face. He said, "We don't talk like that in this house. And I don't want to hear that again." And he turns to the little girl and says, "Now, what would you like for breakfast?" She says, "You can bet your ass it won't be cornflakes." The moral of which is if something bad happens to you, it's a good idea to know the reason for it. And I think I've given you part of that. Thank you very much.